Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. I'm Shehan Ranatunga. Let's first take a look at your headlines tonight.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
KDK, the leader in indoor air quality. KDK, the reliable fan.
"13 years since the murder of senior journalist Lasantha Wickrematunge. When will the truth be revealed? President obtains blessing from the Jayashri Mahapoti. Prime Minister felicitates Venerable Muruttettu Ethero. Please resign if you cannot do your job, says opposition leader to the government.
වහාම රටේ මැතිවරණයක් පවත්වන්න. සුදුස්සෙකුට වගකීම බාර අරන් මේ කඩා වැටුණු දේශය යලි ගොඩනගන්න.
The always outstanding former State Minister Sushil Premajayantha. CEB receives fuel from Sipetco. No power outages today, says the CEB. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang's visit to Sri Lanka.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
KDK, the leader in indoor air quality. KDK, the reliable fan.
Now, a dozen years ago on a day like today, Lasantha Wickrematunge was brutally assassinated in broad daylight. News First files this report in memory of him.
Lasantha Wickrematunge, the fearless journalist. Lasantha, who was the editor of the Sunday Leader newspaper at the time, threw caution to the wind in exposing those who engaged in corruption, even those in the upper echelons of the nation. Lasantha had a penchant for revealing the truth and exposing even the most clandestine misdealings, paving new ways in the field of investigative journalism. Lasantha was undeterred in his work, knowing fully well the substantial risk his line of work brought with it. He breathed his last on a fateful day like today, when he was assassinated in a cowardly attack along the Attidiya road by those who feared his courageous attitude and verve. Lasantha, who was acclaimed for his services to the field of journalism and to the nation, was posthumously awarded the IPI World Press Freedom Hero Award. Since the 8th of January 2009, governments have ascended to power and conceded control to new ones. All the while, the cowardly minions responsible for the death of a courageous soul continue to roam free. Although Lasantha's remains were exhumed on the 27th of September 2016 and a number of arrests were made, no substantial or effective breakthrough has been made to date. We need to stand against acts of terror. This is not the first time such an attack has occurred. Unfortunately, it won't be the last either. We need to face this together. All media institutions must band together to face it. A mere 48 hours prior to the demise of Lasantha Wickrematunge on the 6th of January 2009, a gang of thugs attacked and destroyed the then state-of-the-art MTV-MBC broadcasting complex in Depanama. Dishonest men feared the inescapable truth. The truth always wins. The trust placed in us by you, the people, will continue to propel us towards creating a just and law-abiding society. Our dedication towards this ultimate goal will forever remain unwavered. The truth can never be hidden. Never. And justice will always find its way to those who commit crimes. Always. Although those responsible for Lasantha's assassination are roaming freely for 13 years, they will never be free from their conscience and the truth.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa visited the historic Jayashri Mahabodhi and obtained the blessings today.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa called on Venerable Dr. Pallegama Sirinivasa Thero, the Atamasthana Adipati of the Mahaviharaya in Anuradhapura today. He had discussed the progress of constructing a car park for devotees who visited the Jaya Sri Mahabodhi to engage in religious observances. The Mahasangha bestowed their blessings upon the President by chanting Pirit.
The felicitation ceremony for the Colombo University's Chancellor Venerable Muruttettuwe Ananda Thero was held today. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa attended the ceremony.
The felicitation ceremony for Venerable Muruttettuwe Ananda Thero was held at the Bandaranaike Memorial International Conference Hall. The ceremony was organized by the Public Services United Nurses Union. Parliamentarians, nurses and trade union representatives attended the ceremony as well.
The 123rd birth anniversary of Sri Lanka Freedom Party founder, the late SWRD Bandaranaike, was marked today.
An event was held today to mark the 123rd birth anniversary of Sri Lanka Freedom Party founder, the late SWRD Bandaranaike today. Sri Lanka Freedom Party chairman, former President Maithripala Sirisena, was among those who paid floral tributes to the statue of the SLFP founder at the Goldface Green this morning.
පැහැදිලිවම අලුත් ගමනක්. ඒ අනුව අපි නව ජවයකින් අලුත් ගමනක් රට සහ ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් යනවා. ඔබතුමාලා දැන් සැර කතා කරන්න පටන් ගන්න තියෙනවා. මම ඉතින් කවදාවත් සැරට තමයි කතා කරන්නේ. යන්න ජලාශය දෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මේ ආණ්ඩුව රෑ තමයි ගිවිසුම් අස්සම් කරන්නේ. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ ඉතින්. ඒගොල්ලන්ට අධික වැඩ කටයුතු තියෙනවානේ. ඉතින් ඒක කොයි වෙලේ අස්සම් කරපුවාම වෙනවා.
Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga and her family members also paid floral tributes to the statue of late SWRD Bandaranaike. Dr. Susil Premajayanta, who was stripped off his position as State Minister, was also present.
The Rajapaksas have failed. They won't be able to come to power again. There is no point in speaking about Gotabaya Rajapaksa, let alone running a country. I don't think he can even serve as a Pradesha Sabha member.
Sri Lanka Freedom Party chairman, former President Maithripala Sirisena, attended the birth anniversary celebration of the late SWRD Bandaranaike today. This was after attending an event to appoint organisers of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Parliamentarians and ministers from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party were present. New electoral organisers and district organisers were appointed during the event at the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters.
Through my experience as a journalist for 25 years, a parliamentary reporter for 18 years, and through the Sri Praja Development Foundation since last August, I have gone to the people. I hope to use my experience in providing solutions to the problems faced by the people and to make the Matugama electorate the best, as the party is moving in a new direction. I am thankful for this post of organizer on behalf of the youth. I consider this to be a symbol of leadership.
Let's now cross over for a short commercial break. Do stay tuned.
News First, main sponsor.
Sun all-purpose disinfectant spray.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
KDK, the leader in indoor air quality. Over 110 years in bringing you the best of Japanese innovation and technology. KDK, the reliable fan.
Welcome back. Now, concerns are being raised on power generation in the country at present. The concerns are being raised as hydropower production is declining while authorities are running out of funds to run diesel-powered plants. Some power generating units at power stations are inactive as well. Now, what will happen to the country's power generation in the future?
The Ceylon Electricity Board says that power cuts will not be imposed today. The CEB's Additional General Manager, Andrew Navamani, said the generation of power from the Sapagaskanda plant and the barge-mounted power plant at the Colombo port has resumed. The power generation had resumed after the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation had provided fuel. The CEB said that a power generating unit at the Kalanitessa power station that had faced a breakdown would also be connected to the national power grid.
Is the CEB facing a crisis to import fuel?
The Ceylon Electricity Board's General Manager M.R. Ranatunga has said 2 payments of 18 billion rupees and $30 million are to be made to the CPC next month. He pointed out that the CEB's monthly income had dropped from 20 billion rupees to 14 billion rupees as a result of provided concessions on electricity bill payments over the last 2 years.
Is the CPC ready to provide fuel to the CEB?
We have informed the Ceylon Electricity Board that we can't sell them fuel on credit. We are facing massive pressure. Therefore, we can't shoulder the burden of another ministry at this time. A beggar can't be given back the task of looking after a poor person. A poor person must be looked after by a rich person. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation is in a severe financial crisis than the Ceylon Electricity Board. We regretfully say that we can't resolve the problems of the Ceylon Electricity Board. We held talks with the Ceylon Electricity Board. They requested us for 10,000 metric tons of fuel immediately in 2 batches of 5,000 metric tons each. We agreed to supply that. In February, we will import the stocks. The Ceylon Electricity Board should give us the dollars for that. Don't forget that the CEB already owes the CPC 91 billion rupees.
රුපියල් බිලියන 91ක් කන්දියල් සංස්ථාවට ණයයි.
India-Sri Lanka oil tank deal. While a power crisis is looming, the agreement on the Trincomalee oil tank farm was signed this week. 14 oil tanks will now belong to Lanka IOC, while the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation will run 24 tanks. The remaining 61 tanks will be run by a company named Trinco Petroleum Terminal Limited. The Indian Oil Corporation will hold a 49% stake in the company, while the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation will hold 51%. Massive objection is being raised over the agreement that was signed over the Trincomalee oil tank farm. We are wondering whether they are being patriotic to our country or India. Some are trying to falsely claim that the Indian Navy can enter the Trincomalee harbour under the agreement. During the last 19 years, India owned all 99 tanks. Did the Indian Navy enter our country during that period? They can't respond to that.
ඔය ටැංකිය 99ම තිබුණේ ඉන්දියාවට. හැබැයි ඉන්දියාව නමුදාව ත්‍රිකුණාමලේ වරායට ඇතුළු වුණාද මේ ටැංකිය වලට මොහා වෙලා? උත්තරේ නැත.
This is what they did to the Yugadanavi power plant. This was what happened over the dual citizenship of Basil Rajapaksa as well. Ministers Basil and Gamampilla and the Government of Prosperity have joined hands and are inking unlawful agreements to sell off the country's assets. They can't even go with the Sri Lankan flag to the port or the oil tank farm. The agreement says that if it is terminated, the 24 tanks will be vested with the Trinco Terminal Storage Company. India will receive more control then. Who owns the Trinco Terminal Storage Company that runs 61 tanks? LIOC has a 49% stake in that. Isn't that an act of treason? After the midnight on the 6th of January, the government hasn't been able to touch even one tank in the upper tank farm.
ජනවාරි 6 මධ්‍යම රාත්‍රියෙන් පස්සේ ඔය ඉහළංගනේ එක ටැංකියක නට් එකක්වත් ගලව ගන්න බෑ.
We must develop the oil tanks. 3 acres on one side of the port were given away for $750 million. There are 833 acres in total. 51% of that is owned by the government, while an Indian company owns 49% of the stake. If that is the case, then they have to invest a minimum of $20 billion. Otherwise, what is the point of this deal? If this goes ahead, this won't be an agreement, but a deal similar to giving away the land to a person who collects interest payments.
මේක ගිවිසුමක් නෙමෙයි මේක මේ කාට හරි බය වෙලා අර පොලිකාරයට ඉඩම ලියලා දුන්නා වගේ වැඩක්.
Our previous leaders dealt with geopolitical matters in good terms with India, Pakistan, China, the United Kingdom and even the United States. The government can solve the Trincomalee oil tank farm in a way that is beneficial to the country. By going for loans, we are being forced to lease out assets and engage in similar activities. This is a pathetic situation.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa raised concerns about the crisis the country is facing. This was during a party meeting in Valuer.
The country is going on the wrong track. When they are approaching the deadlines to repay the debts, they go on international tours to beg for money. There was a time when the government said that they will not bow down to foreign countries. They are now worshipping foreign countries and asking for money. They are now continuously printing money. The country is bankrupt. We must take a wheelbarrow full of money to even purchase a small item. That is what hyperinflation is. Our country is at a risk of facing the same situation as Zimbabwe. If the government cannot do its job, please leave. Hold an election. Give the job to someone who can take up the responsibility.
Jalani Premadasa donated essential items to students in Mullaitivu today. The donations were made to over 270 students of the Mutti and Katu Vidyalaya in Odu, Sudan and the Mulliyawalai Primary School. The gold reserves of Sri Lanka have dropped to $175.4 million from $382 million.
අපේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ රත්තරන් සංචිත 154ක් විකුණලා දාලා.
54% of our gold reserves have been sold. The rest will be sold off before the end of this month as well. These are all temporary solutions. Although you sell your earnings, you will not get an income in the following month by doing so. They have to first find a mode of income. Without doing that, the government's plans to sell off everything. The CEB is saying that there will be power cuts because they do not have fuel to function. The barge and the Sabugaskanda oil refinery are shut down. The government does not have money to import petrol or diesel. There is no milk powder or gas in the country. Although the government says they will receive $1.5 billion, they have not received any money. They show that the value of the 10 million yuan they received from China amounts to $1.5 million.
American dollar billion එකමාරක් කියලා තමයි පෙන්නන්නේ.
Chinese Foreign Minister and State Councillor Wang Yi arrived in Sri Lanka tonight as he wraps up his foreign tour. The Chinese embassy in Colombo said he will launch the 65th anniversary celebrations of China-Sri Lanka diplomatic relations. The visiting minister will meet political leaders in Sri Lanka. He visited Eritrea, Kenya, the Comoros Islands and the Maldives before reaching Sri Lanka. The four countries are part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. The four countries have also obtained massive amounts of funding from China.
Now in other news, Minister of Agriculture Mahindanand Alutgamage says there is nothing wrong in paying compensation to the Chinese fertilizer company.
There is nothing wrong in compensating the Chinese government. This was settled based on the instructions of the Attorney General. The Chinese company has agreed to provide fertilizer of proper standard if we pay a $5 million collateral. The ship will return to China. The company will manufacture fertilizer again and send samples to the National Plant Quarantine Service for tests. We will then receive it. The only loss was that we did not receive enough fertilizer at the expected time. There was no financial loss.
අපි ප්‍රශ්න කරපුවාම චීන අසෝචි නැවට සල්ලි ගෙවනවද කියලා මහින්දානන්ද අලුත්ගමගේ
We asked them whether they would pay compensation for ship carrying Chinese fertilizer waste. The government, including Mahindananda, said they wouldn't do that. Now they have paid $6.9 million to them. This is the fate that has befallen our country. If Mahindananda Alutgamage has shame, he must resign from his position. Concerns are being raised on food security in the country. I feel what he said was wrong. During the years 2020 and 2021, under his rule, they have obtained loans of $5 billion from various countries and international financial organizations. Some say that when loans are obtained, they will have to mortgage the country. He mortgaged the country's food security. Today, the people are in hunger because the cost of goods have increased. As they used the money to pay the loans, there is a shortage of medicines. Therefore, they have repaid the debt by mortgaging the country's food security, medicine security and energy security. They have obtained loans of about $5 billion in 2020 and 2021, including the $1.5 billion that the central bank governor was speaking of.
Farmers of Mahavilache in Anuradhapura staged a protest using black flags, demanding compensation for their farmlands that were destroyed by the fertilizer crisis.
Farmers marched from the Vilachia Agrarian Services Centre to a Devalaya near the Mahavilachia Vavar. They engaged in a religious ritual afterwards.
I have a paddy field spanning 3 acres. On one side is a 2-acre land on which I used organic fertilizer. I used urea to cultivate 1 acre of land. This is the difference between the crops cultivated using organic fertilizer and urea.
These are farmlands in Tambalagamuwa in Kantale. Farmers say their cultivations have failed.
The minister said that compensation will be given for farmers who used compost fertilizer. Please explain the method in which compensation will be paid. We know that the agriculture minister might change. Then they will say that they can't implement what the previous minister said. We will then have to complain to the gods.
These are farmlands in Haliala in Badulla. People in Colombo are now standing in queues for gas cylinders. A queue was seen near the Prime Minister's office along Flower Road today.
ගණ්ඩ තමයි දෙ දවස් ටිකක්ම රස්තිය දෙවලා ඉන්නේ අද උදේ ගිහලා එනක සෙන්ට් මයිකල් පාර රස්තිය දෙවලා මේ ආවේ මේකවත් හම්බ වෙයිද කියලා ළඟට යනකම් ෂුවර් නැහැ.
People were seen queued up at filling stations in Urugodavatta to buy kerosene. While some people were able to buy kerosene, the others had to return home empty-handed as the stocks were over. A gas cooker had exploded at a restaurant along the Pathiraja place in Balapitiya. No one was injured in the explosion that caused a fire at the restaurant.
The Advocata Research Institute says retail prices of food had increased by 15% from November to December last year. Advocata's Batkari indicator tracks the monthly changes in the retail price of food. It showed that the cost of food had increased by 15% from November to December last year. Advocata said much of the increase is driven by the rising cost of vegetables. It notes that an average family of 4 that spends about 1,165 rupees weekly on some food items in 2020 had to pay 1,593 rupees last year.
The Pathfinder Foundation has outlined 3 solutions to support the country's economic revival. The solutions are to restructure external debt, negotiate with the International Monetary Fund, and obtain funds to settle debt. In a statement, the Pathfinder Foundation said immediate priority must be given to these proposals. It said that money printing causes inflation, exerts pressure on balance of payments, and undermines exchange rate stability. The Pathfinder Foundation noted that the declining foreign assets indicate the impact arising from a massive dollar shortage. It said this requires radical action, including a debt restructuring and decisive measures to attract foreign inflows.
Now, despite this bad news, Gammadda vested its first drinking water project for the year 2022 with the people today.
Gammadda vested its first drinking water project for 2022 with the people of Kadurupitiya in Mahavilachia this morning. The Moratoire University's electrical engineers batch of 1995 and 1996 joined hands with Gammadda to carry out the project.
While water is being a basic necessity for all of us, for these villages in Kadurupitiya, that is a luxury.
This project has created fresh hopes for the people of Kadurupitiya, who continue to battle kidney ailments. It also ensures that the future of the village is now in safe hands. For more than a decade, Gammadda has travelled from village to village, unearthing the problems of the people and providing them with solutions. Gammadda has carried out more than 1,000 projects across the country and continues its unwavering service to the people.
Now, in some other news, the people of Balanguda are saying that a large-scale gem mine is causing massive environmental destruction.
The people of Galganiarava say a gem mine has been operating in the area in the last 8 months. Although mining had been taking place on a private land initially, it has now been expanded to include a land in a nearby reserve. Locals say they have been unable to use the road near the gem mine that runs from Muttettua to Budunvela. Buddhist monks in the area say the gem mine is causing massive environmental damage.
Gem mining is taking place based on the wishes of some people by destroying this area and a reserve. There is an alternate road connecting two villages. Now the people are using this road with fear. We are facing difficulties in obtaining water to cook meals, bathe, drink and carry out farming. That is because the water contains mud that is being washed away from the mine.
The gem miners have created fear among the people.
I have been asked to take care of a paddy field of a monk, but I couldn't visit the field because they have dug holes in the ground. My vehicle fell into a hole. The miners asked me where I was going. I said I'm going to the field of the monk because I have to look after that. They said that I can't go there without their permission. They made us wait and called the police. They took us to the police. They tried to attack us. They warned us not to use that path again and that they would shoot us in the mine. My vehicle was taken away by the police. 2 people were with me at that time. They were also taken to the police. They brought guns as well.
Villagers say that the miners have threatened to imprison and murder them if they oppose the illegal gem mining taking place in the area.
They had gone to my house in the morning. My wife and my 2 children were at home at that time. They had leveled threats saying that they have been given permission to shoot. They had said that they would imprison us for theft and then release our dead bodies as COVID-19 deaths. I have a serious issue as to whose law they are implementing. I have to protect my wife and children. At least the president should witness the destruction that is happening. We don't know who gave them permission to carry out large-scale destruction.
The Southern Province competitions of the Sri Lanka Vanita Bimana 2021 were held in Galle today.
Newsfirst has engraved an indelible mark in the people's hearts as Sri Lanka's largest and most trusted news brand. Today, Newsfirst is fulfilling its social responsibility by going beyond the ordinary boundaries of journalism. Sri Lanka Vanita Bimana 2021, organized by Newsfirst and NDB Bank, aims at empowering women in Sri Lanka. Winners of the Vanita Bimana competitions in the Southern Province were awarded today.
කාන්තාවන් හැමදාම කරනවා සුවිශේෂී වූ දේවල්.
Women do unique things every day. They do things to bring pride to our country. Unfortunately, they are not recognized enough. Our economic state is not so great now. But why aren't people talking about the contributions women make to our country's economic growth? Some women are leaders as well. Why don't people talk about how women work during the day and then complete their household tasks when they return home as well? They help their children with their studies, they cook and clean at home. These are priceless.
ළමයින්ගේ අධ්‍යාපන කටයුතු කරනවා කෑම යුම්පියුම් කරනවා ඒවා ඇත්තට මේකට මිලක් නියම කරන්න බෑ.
The competitions under the Vanita Bimana program are held under 10 categories. This includes entrepreneurship, young leader, voluntary services, education, sports and environmental management.
Now in news overseas, India's state of Assam is now presuming that all COVID-19 cases in the state are of the Omicron variant.
India's state of Assam has decided to treat every new case from now on as an Omicron variant. It takes at least 5 days to confirm the variant in an infected person after conducting tests. This is being done to immediately arrest the transmission, which is very fast in the case of this variant. Assam's chief minister said they want to prepare well to face a third wave of infections. Assam's total positive cases in the third wave in a week from the 1st of January exceeded 3,730 yesterday. The rise in infections has prompted authorities across India to impose a weekend lockdown and night curfews restricting the movement of people. Delhi has already imposed a weekend lockdown. Mumbai, meanwhile, is mulling over whether to impose a weekend curfew, even as Prime Minister Modi will be reviewing the COVID-19 situation in Maharashtra. Amid the rising number of COVID-19 cases, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister has also denied permission for Pongal-related cultural functions and gatherings across the state.
In other news, the former head of Kazakhstan's domestic intelligence agency has been detained on suspicion of high treason after he was fired amid violent protests.
The National Security Committee said its former chief Karim Mismov was arrested after it launched an investigation into charges of high treason. He was a close ally of Kazakhstan's founding president Nur Sultan. Authorities say security forces killed 26 demonstrators in this week's unrest and 18 law enforcement officers died. More than 4,400 people have been arrested. Yesterday, Kazakhstan's president ordered security forces to shoot to kill without warning as unrest continues in the tightly controlled Central Asian state. In a televised address yesterday, Kasim Yomart warned demonstrators would be destroyed as a part of a forceful counter-terrorist operation.
Sidney Poitier, more commonly pronounced Sidney Poitier here in Sri Lanka, the first man of colour to win a Best Actor Oscar, has died at the age of 94.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
Sidney Poitier broke racial barriers to become the first actor of colour to win the Best Actor Oscar award and inspired a generation during the United States Civil Rights Movement. Poitier created a distinguished film legacy in a single year with 3 1967 films at a time when segregation prevailed in much of the US. Poitier won his history-making Best Actor Oscar for Lilies of the Field in 1963. 5 years before that, Poitier had been the first man of color nominated for a lead actor Oscar for his role in The Defiant Ones. Acting Director General of the Bahamian Foreign Ministry, Eugene Torchon, confirmed his death.
The Department of Zoology says steps will be taken for the public to view an African lion cub that was born at Vidiyagama Safari Park around 4 months ago. Now we leave you with the details of this story. Signing off for the News First team, I'm Shehan Ranatunga together with sign language interpreter Brian Dickens. Have yourself a great evening.
The Lion Cub named Dora was born to Lara and Chandi. Dora is the fourth African lion cub to be born at the Ridegama Safari Park. Its mother abandoned it when it was really small. We are raising it as a wild animal. It is also a people-friendly animal. We are raising it in a way that it has the qualities of a wild animal and not a lion domesticated in a zoo.
Everyone is excited to visit Dora. We are taking steps to make sure that those who visit the Ridegama Safari Park to see Dora as well.